Welcome, everybody. My name's Mina Jane. I'm the director of the Ashland Public Library in Massachusetts, and I'm super excited, as always, to be here with author Jane Healey to talk about her historical fiction recommendations. Before we get to Jane, I just want to say thanks to the Friends of the Ashland Public Library for supporting all these programs, our programs, which are fantastic. We were just talking about that. And Jane, for letting us share this program with other libraries, because of course, when libraries work together, we make magic. And so we're just going to go right into recommendations. Jane's got a bunch, but you know the drill. If you've been here before, put your recommendations in the chat so that we can hear what you've been enjoying. And after we finish the talk in half an hour, I will send out the list of everything that was recommended tonight, both from Jane and from our attendees, and you'll have a long list of books to read in the next month. So, Jane, welcome. Thanks so much for being here once again.
I know we're doing this. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you everyone for coming tonight. I'm so glad we started this little tradition. It's great.
It really is. So I have a bunch of questions for you, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with your first recommendation.
Yeah, so as usual, I tried to pick a mix of time periods and writing styles and authors and diversity. And so the first one is, it's actually set in 1956 Malibu. It's called A Map to Paradise by Susan Meissner. She's a pretty well-known author, seasoned author of historical fiction. And this is about a starlet named Melanie Cole, and her Polish immigrant housekeeper named Eva and their agoraphobic neighbor Elwood, who goes missing. And so it's in part mystery. It also is in the backdrop of the McCarthy era. So McCarthyism, especially in Hollywood at the time, was on the rise. And I thought, oh, this is really, I love a good mystery. 1950s Hollywood is such a great era to write about. So I'm excited. This one already came out. This was published March 18th.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the cover for this. I know I just showed it
Yes.
for a second, but like, do authors have much say in the covers of their books?
You know, it's funny. I love asking that question. I love like the whole cover process. I'm been pretty lucky. I get input. I don't have the final say in the cover, but I do get to provide input into the cover designs, and it's really fun. I think that I think more than ever, it's really hard to rise above the noise in the book industry and publishing, and so covers are like so important. And a good one always like yeah, I have a couple really good ones here tonight too. So yeah, it's just really fun. But yeah, some authors tell me that they get their cover design and that publisher is kind of like, here's your cover, hope you like it. But it seems like most authors that I've talked to have some sort of input.
Hmm. That's good to know because I've read books where the cover is completely different from the story, and it makes me very mad.
Me too. I know that's annoying.
It's very annoying. So I'm hearing that the people are reading some very good books in the chat. And again, I'll be sending out that list, but it looks like the Queen of oh my gosh, the current Marie Benedict book.
Oh, Queens of
Queens of
Crime.
Crime
Yeah, yeah, that
is
one
the
looks
big one.
really good. Yep.
Yeah. And Harlem Rhapsody. Oh, good book. Good book,
Oh,
Janet.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
book.
Really good ones.
Okay, so it's next.
So next is by Natasha Lester. I actually have an arc here. It's the Mademoiselle Alliance. I will hold it up. So this isn't the like she's Australian, so this is the American cover. It just came out today in America, and came out in the UK and Australia. I think like last week or the week before, with a whole different color cover. This one is more artsy than those. It's interesting how they pick different covers based on country as well.
Hmm.
I this is a fascinating World War II story. We talk a lot about World War II. It's a true story, so it's biographical fiction about Marie Madeleine Forçard, and it starts in 1928 when she's 18 years old, living newly married in Morocco. She's French, and she becomes one of the biggest leaders of the French resistance in France during World War II. She had to hide her gender. She had to her code name was Hedgehog. She oversaw basically an army of French resistance members, like 3,000 of them. And it's really I read about her when I was researching my novel, The Secret Stealers, And I was like, I can't. She's such a fascinating character. She was a daredevil. She raced cars. She flew planes, and she was incredibly brave. And I at the time I remember thinking, I can't believe there hasn't been more written about this woman. So Natasha Lester, who's a very well-known historical fiction author, she wrote this, and it releases today. I am talking to her on Historical Happy Hour, my podcast tomorrow night. You can still register on my website if anyone wants to attend that. I'm excited to talk to her about it because even before I knew this book was coming out, I was a fan of Marie Madeleine Frossard after doing research on her a few years ago.
Mhm. I find that really interesting that Natasha is Australian and yet she's writing about a British or French, is it French? It's a French woman in
Yes.
World War II. So,
Mhm.
like, geography does not matter, it seems like, for historical fiction.
No, and I think that there's still, even though like we talk about, there's a lot of history of World War II out there. There's still so many stories yet to be uncovered, particularly stories about women in World War II. And so, yeah, I this and this one is really deserving of a book dedicated to her life because she was just a fascinating, heroic character that definitely has not received her due in terms of the history books.
Mhm. I guess what I mean is that, Natasha's not just writing about things that are happening in Australia. She's writing about things that are happening around the world. And I find that really great about any author who, delves into not just their own culture, but like cultures elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that I totally agree. I mean, this my latest book is takes place in DC, but I loved writing about France and French culture and history. During the war, I find it fascinating, and there's of course a tragic elements to it, but also kind of a romantic element to it. And yeah, I loved researching that.
Hmm. Right. And I just put the pre-order link for the Women of Arlington Hall into the chat for anybody who is looking for Jane's next book, which is coming out. Is it June 10th?
No, it's coming out August 1st.
August 1st.
The
Okay.
date changed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So August 1st now.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you
So
for
just so
posting.
people aren't like, what is that?
Right, right.
Oh, Lynn Olson is an amazing author as well. There's a good nonfiction book about Poseidon. And
Yes.
I totally agree with that. Um,
Yep.
all right, this next book that you have is one that I love. So let's get to it.
All right. Make sure I'm in the right order here. 6 Days in Bombay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So Alka Joshi, a lot of you might know her trilogy. It started with The Henna Artist, which was a Reese Witherspoon pick. And I love her writing. It's really sensory. Like you can like smell the smells and see the colors. And I haven't read this one yet, but I read the whole trilogy and loved it. And so this one is 6 Days in Bombay. It is set in 1930s Bombay, which was under British rule, and it features Sona, a nurse who is half British, half Indian, and kind of the racial issues that she has to deal with, kind of living in its two worlds. And so it's about her, and it's about an artist that she meets who's in the hospital at the time. The artist I didn't realize was inspired by a real life artist named Amrita Shergill.
Mhm.
So the artist, I don't think it's giving away any spoilers that the artist passes away, and this nurse has to is kind of suspected of her murder and has to kind of travel the globe and prove her innocence. So it's like an adventure story. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Have you read it yet?
No, I've read parts of it so far because I've been like flipping through it and being like, I need to read this, I need to read this, but I don't have time. Because I also love the trilogy, but I interviewed her in January and I'm still like buzzing from that talk. She was so interesting, like her own history and her own Alka's own history, but also the way that she writes and the way she thinks about writing, I think is
Yes.
really fascinating.
Yeah,
So,
she's amazing. I interviewed her for the podcast and she's coming back on at say and same. I was like, she was so inspiring and
mhm.
the way she writes is like the opposite of how I write. She was talking about how she writes and she's like, well, I'll think of a scene, I think a scene or a chapter, and she's like, and I'll think about it and I'll think about it and I won't write anything down. and basically was saying like, and then I write the whole thing down and it's perfect. I was like, what? How do you do that? Like, yeah, she's like the writer I want to be when I grow up. She's amazing, and she's such a light and so inspiring. So I'm excited to talk to her again, and I'm excited to read this.
Me too. I just the snippets I've read so far have just like, I mean, her word, the way she like phrases things, just elegant, but also
Yeah.
like, I mean, Michelle's like, she enjoyed my interview with Alka. It was a really good one. She is so cool. You know, she's got these cool glasses and this cool hair, and
Oh,
she just,
I know.
like, oh,
Super chic, like with her hot pink jacket and like the perfect silver hair, and oh my God. Yeah, I
you
can't.
know. Like
Yeah.
it was yeah, so like she's it's just put together and you can see it in her writing. Like she like
Yeah.
she's not falling apart all over the place like I do. I
You'll
just
be
love
fine.
that. And I love being Indian myself. I just really enjoy the fact that she makes me feel like I'm home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's so interesting because I just, yeah, I was obsessed with the henna artist, and I love the other two books in the trilogy too. But the henna artist, it was one of the best I've read in a long time. I love that book.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with an Elka Joshi book, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are leaving Bombay and going to the Amalfi Coast, as is true.
Yes. And okay, so I have not. I'm almost embarrassed to say this is the Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. She wrote The Lost Apothecary. Have you read that one? I haven't
I
read that one.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and that one was a huge hit. This is speaking of beautiful covers. I mean, this is a gorgeous cover. I picked this one because I'm excited about it, and also because it's a little different. I tried to pick like different times, different places, and Positano, that whole area of the world is stunning. This one is a dual timeline mystery. There's a little bit of magical realism in here, which is super cool. And so it's about this present day nautical archaeologist who goes to investigate shipwrecks off the coast of Positano, Italy, and then it goes back in time to the 1800s to this woman who's basically accused of witchcraft and things going on with the sea and the weather. And so, oh, can't see the cover. I know it's like I'm like, what am I doing?
I'm gonna try to bring it up,
Yeah,
share my
it's
screen.
it's the lighting in here. My like Zoom lighting is not good. Better. That's better. Okay.
It is beautiful,
It's
absolutely.
so pretty. I know. I'm like, this is one of my favorite covers I've seen in a while. So, yeah, bewitching tale of sunken treasure, forbidden love, and ancient magic. What could be better? Like that sounds so fun. So I'm looking forward. This one comes out April 29th, so pretty
Mhm.
soon.
Mhm. So this is where I have to stop you and ask a question about historical fiction because you've said you had biographical sort of narrative and now this sort of like magical realism one. Like what is really historical fiction? I mean, like because I would think like this would be more fantasy or, is it just because it's written in an historical time that it can be considered historical fiction?
It's interesting. I think that historical fiction is a big umbrella. I like to think of it, and that there's lots of little subgenres of historical fiction underneath that. So there's biographical fiction, like Natasha Lester's new book that's coming out, which has to really stick to the facts, right? Because it's about a real woman in history. And then there's historical romance, which really might just use Regency era England as the backdrop, but very little in terms of facts and aside from setting, so that's like the other end of this extreme. And then I
Wait, Jane. That you've never read a Loretta Chase if you can say that with a straight face.
oh, well, see, that's true because I'm not a big romance reader. So
I am a big romance reader, so I can tell you all the historical romance, but I would never consider historical romance historical fiction
yeah.
because it's just a completely different genre to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I feel
Like
like it falls in the umbrella, but like it leads with the romance, right? It's all about the romance and the trope and the romantic arc, right? So, but then there's some like Sarah Penner's, which weaves in a little bit of like magical realism, and that is also kind of another subgenre of historical fiction because there's a historical setting, but obviously not all of this is based on fact if there's magic. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of little subgenres underneath the umbrella of historical fiction.
Mhm. I really like that because then you can choose what subgenre that you're most interested in. So like if I like fantasy and I like history, then I would go for this book. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
right. So like I might like go for like a steampunk book if I don't
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing.
Like Linda Loigman, she's a friend, and she writes, her last two books have been dual timelines, historical fiction with some magical realism elements woven in, and she does it so well. Yeah.
Mhm. Isn't magical realism kind of an oxymoron?
Kind of, yeah, I know. I kind of like think of it as like magic light, like just a little bit, you know what I mean? Like it's like just a little bit of like sprinkles,
Okay.
sprinkles of magic. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, what does that mean? Okay. So yeah, let's get back into your things because I could talk to you all night. But
Okay.
I know you have some really good books coming up.
Okay, so this is the last arc I have, and I will try to like make the cover more because it is also another beautiful cover. Woo. Like I gotta learn how to like where my camera is. Clearly, I'm like not a newscaster or anything because I like where am I? Where am I in space? This is The Girls of Good Fortune by Christina McMorris, who's amazing. And so this is 19th century Portland, Oregon during, and it's interesting. It's about racism against Chinese immigrants during America's gold rush era. And it's about this
Mm.
character, another character who is kind of between two worlds. She's half Chinese and she is basically kidnapped and placed into forced labor and has to fight for survival while also uncovering all these horrible things happening to Chinese laborers at the time. And Christina lives in California. I was reading a little bit about her research for this book and some of the things she discovered, including I don't know much about it, so don't ask me deep questions yet. But the Hell's Canyon massacre was a an event she discovered that she decided she was gonna, kind of place in the narrative, and so yeah, I'm sure she's a beautiful writer. I'm really, really excited for this one. I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Hmm.
And this one comes out May 20th.
Hmm. All right. So I have to ask you this question. It sounds so dark. Why do we read books that are so dark about our history?
It does. This one sounds like a dark one, and I think that it's kind of I think it gives you an understanding of the time and the place and lets you put in context events that are happening in the world now. I think that's one of the reasons why we're still so interested in World War II and 1930s and how things like fascism can rise around the world. So this is a dark one, but I think it's also kind of a way to honor history and honor like the quiet everyday heroes of that time period too, which it sounds like this story does. So yeah, it's funny. I find I have to, if I read a heavy book, a darker book, I have to kind of balance it out and read or listen to a lighter book afterwards because I can't read like three heavy books in a row, So
Same.
yeah,
I've only got so much tolerance I'm more of the, escape. So I really want to read something that is getting me away from real life. Um,
yeah, yeah.
and um, so next book, this one looks really kind of for us New Englanders.
Yes, yeah. So Martha Hall Kelly, she's known for all of her books, but I think her Lilac Girls was the one that put her on the map. So this is her latest. It's the Martha's Vineyard Beach and Book Club, alternating timelines once again, which is definitely a trend in historical fiction now. It's alternates between World War II era Martha's Vineyard sisters Briar and Ginny, starting a book club amidst wartime tensions, and then decades later, a painter named Mari who goes to Martha's Vineyard to uncover her connections with the island. It's about female friendship, resilience through art, love across generations, and Martha Kelly's a beautiful writer. So I'm excited about that one too.
Mhm. And talk about covers. This is so um, evocative of the time, like
Yeah.
that being on the beach, hanging out with your friends. It's like in the sort of in the 50s. But it's not, I mean, like you said, like there's the two timelines. So you would picking it up, I would never know it was about World War II.
Yeah, I know. I like the cover though, but and it does have that kind of vintage. Even the color palette that they chose
Mhm.
has that vintage vibe to it too. Yeah, yeah. I know. I think that that's the thing with time, with the dual narratives too. When you're doing a cover, even with the stories, sometimes, and I don't know about this one. Sometimes one timeline is like heavier favored in the whole narrative arc than the other one, and maybe that's why they went with more of a vintagey cover.
Mhm.
Vintagey, is that a word?
It is now. Take it. Okay, we have two more, and the next one I think is a little bit different from the others.
Yes, and that's why I picked it. I was like, oh, that looks really interesting and different era. This one is The Cardinal by Alison Weir, and this comes out March 27th. And it focuses on Cardinal Thomas Wolsey's rise from humble beginnings to power as Henry VIII's advisor and his tragic fall due to betrayal at court. And it explores his relationships with two women who shaped his life profoundly. And I'm like, I haven't read a lot of Tudor history recently, like historical fiction. So I'm like, oh, that looks super interesting and different era. Um, Alison Weir is known for her Six Tudor Queen series. And people, this one's getting a lot of buzz online. So I'm excited for that one too.
Now, this is actually kind of timely, this recommendation, because wasn't Conclave like a big movie last year? It was all
Mhm.
about, that was it the 3 days it took them to pick the latest cardinal. And I mean, like the whole thing seems interesting. But I wanted to say about this one is this is the first book of your that you've recommended in a while that was not like 19th and 20th century. And
Yeah.
why why is it so hard to find books? Like, I love Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, but I
Oh,
can't find lots of books like that of that era.
yeah. I think that like anything like in historical fiction, there's trends in terms of the genre, and I there's not as much coming out, and agents and editors will tell you it's more like 19th, 20th century and not as much as, like Tudor era or Regency era, so it's interesting. But I think that things will swing back. I'm sure there'll be more books, more, the trends change and come and go, and there'll be more from different eras at some point. Something will be, well, Bridgerton, that's like bringing back some of the Regency romance stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
Trends
Yeah,
and
no, I mean, I
will
just think,
change.
yeah, I mean, like, you see like one book about Cleopatra and one book about Caesar and one book about, the Pillars of the Earth and what, and
Yeah.
so it's hard to, like once you like those things and it's hard to find other ones. So, um, but I wonder if too, this is the age for diversity in terms of like finding those hidden stories of people of color, women, LGBTQ. So I wonder if like more of diversity in time frame will happen as well at some point.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will. I think things come back around. And also, I mean, there's also not so much copycats as like trends. So like, all it takes is one big book written in the Tudor era, and all of a sudden you'll see more book deals in the next couple of years written in the Tudor era.
Right.
So
Well, certainly when the Tudors came out on TV, that was, you know, everybody wanted to see it, read it. So
right, right.
yeah. Okay, sorry. I know you have one more good book to get to before we end our time tonight.
Yeah, so this one comes out in July, and I forgot to write down the era, but I believe it's 1900s. The Midnight Estate by Kelly Rimmer. She's a well-known historical author. Um, Architect Fiona Winslow returns to her decaying family estate in Australia after personal upheaval and uncovers family secrets through a mysterious book written by her uncle. Um, and this has that kind of gothic vibe that we've talked about before. Oh, and it has themes of overcoming abuse, domestic violence awareness. It's again a multi-timeline story. So yeah, it's Australia, which is another different setting. So I thought that would be interesting, like the gothic angle, and the fact that it takes place in Australia. I think is kind of a cool different setting.
Mhm. Absolutely. And again, really. crazy cover. It's very scary.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So we have 5 more minutes. So I'm going to ask people to continue to put their recommendations in the chat, but I want to go back to the question about, well, you know, you know this, Jane, is I'm working on a big historical fiction, something in the fall, and I've noticed that there's like a major, like most of the people that are writing historical fiction that I know of are women. And I know
Yeah.
you've tried to highlight women as well, but are there less men writing historical fiction, or do they lean more towards nonfiction?
I don't know. I think with commercial historical fiction right now, I think it's definitely female heavy. I think there's a lot more women than men writing it. I can think of like Ron Balson and Mark Sullivan and Chris Bajalian, although his fiction is a little more literary than kind of commercial historical fiction. Yeah, I don't know why that is. I think maybe because the audience is, I think, predominantly women for commercial historical fiction. So that might be part of the reason. I'm trying to like balance out my demographic on the podcast and have more men on once in a while. I had Robert Dugoni. Oh, he's another excellent historical fiction author, and his two co-writers on his most recent book, Hold Strong. So that I felt like having three of them on, kind of like even though my average is a little. But yeah, I think it might be because the audience is also predominantly female for this genre.
I I have to disagree with that just because and maybe that I don't completely know, but like historical fiction is a one genre that when we have a book club, men will come out for at the library.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Historical,
good.
yeah, history and historical fiction. Hold Strong was really good. So I'm I'm just wondering if we're leading those people that are interested in historical fiction from the male perspective or the yes, that we're pushing them more towards history rather than historical fiction because there's just not that many writers out there.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Honestly, it's really interesting that you said that about the book club, though. I find like, and my husband teases me about it. Like most of my most of my audiences at book clubs and events, like is like 95% women. The Secret Stealers, which was I think more of my books, The Secret Stealers was about the OSS, a precursor to the CIA in World War II, and including William Donovan, who was kind of the founder of it. He was a real character in history, and he's in the book. That book, I have more of a male. Like that's the only one I get emails from men, and like that's that book. Like I have actually guys who have read it and reached out and showed up at my events. But yeah, I my audience definitely skews female. So
Right. Oh, that's
it's
interesting.
it's encouraging though that you say that I because I mean yeah it would be nice to broaden that demographic base for all historical fiction authors. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be that way. I'm just wondering if that if because as I've been searching for all authors of historical fiction, I did notice that it was skewing towards women and it was skewing towards World War II, and the covers always have a woman walking away, usually in red.
Yes. Oh, yeah, like the one behind me.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, oh gosh, yeah.
Yes.
Could
We'll
do
talk
that quite
about
well.
trends, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. The women walking away is still a big trend.
It really is. Well, it's better than in romance, it's the cartoony covers. Thank God you don't
Yes.
have to deal with those.
Oh yeah, those are really big still. Yeah, Emily Henry and yeah, all of those ones. Yeah, Abby Jimenez. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, they're fine, but they're not for me.
yeah.
So once again, we've done 8 recommendations in half an hour. That's amazing, Jane. And we will see you next month. And for everybody who's been here, I'll send out the list. Please, you know, keep with us for next month because we always have a good time. And thank you for all your recommendations. I'm getting a lot too.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming tonight and for the recommendations and telling where you're from. And thank you, Mina, as always, for having me. Thank you so much.
Oh, always. I always like hanging out with you. It's like the thing I look forward to all month long.
Me too. Me too. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Mina.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.